My name is Casey Lau, and today in the Hyper Room, we have co-founder of Icon Heroes, Pat Wang. Since 2008, Icon Heroes has produced a huge line of licensed pop culture, office products, environment statues, toys, action figures, and tons of collectibles. You've seen their products featuring characters from DC Comics, the CW's Arrowverse, Harry Potter, Star Trek, Thundercats, Masters of the Universe, and yes, even the Golden Girls. Pat and I talk about the origins of Icon Heroes, what goes into making Icon Heroes product, the power of exclusives, and being a collectibles company in a COVID-19 world. Here we go with Pat Wang of Icon Heroes inside the Hyper Room.
The Hyper Room.
Hey Pat, how are you doing?
What's up, Casey? How's it going, my man?
So let's start off with a little bit of history. Icon Heroes has now been around for over 10 years. You celebrated your 10th anniversary last year already. You know, how it started and what was the drive to start Icon Heroes?
Yeah, we started back in 2008, and honestly, it just kind of started just trying to fill voids in the collectible market that maybe other companies weren't doing. So we were just kind of looking around, and of course, people were already doing Marvel stuff and Star Wars and stuff. But yeah, we just tried to see what was out there, and our very first license actually was Thundercats, because at the time there really wasn't a lot of Thundercats products out there. So that's kind of how we started, actually.
Today,
Thundercats.
there's so much Thundercat stuff out there.
Yeah. Now, but back then there wasn't. So we just kind of jumped in and, kind of, I guess, like I said, filled that void, because we knew people wanted Thundercats products.
Yeah, I still have that Lion-O piece, that very first Lion-O you did.
Oh, the statue? Yeah, that was one of our first things.
So tell us a little bit, like, how do you get the license for Thundercats, and how do you find them? The market's telling you we want Thundercat products, so you're like, okay, I'm gonna get the license for Thundercats and start making some statues and other products out of it. Walk us through how that whole business style works.
Yeah, so I used to work for a retail company, so for collectibles and toys, action figures, statues, and whatnot. And so I kind of had a vibe as to what was going on in the market at the time. And of course, we would field inquiries from people all the time via email, phone, asking, "Hey, do you sell any of this, any of that?" And one of the ones that kept popping up was Thundercats. So that's kind of, and anyway, after I left the retail company, that's what I wanted to do, was fill that void. And that's why we started Icon Heroes in, um, 2008. As far as getting the license itself, it's basically just tracking down the studio or whoever owns that license and just trying to make a deal with them. But it's not about just saying, "Hey, I want to get a Thundercats license to make something." You kind of have to, we had to prove to them that, because especially for us, this was going to be our first license. We didn't really have anything to show them to say, "Hey, look, we did this before. We'd like to do this with Thundercats." We had nothing like that. We just went in brand new, fish out of the water. So it was basically just kind of giving them our plan as to what we want to do, and just convincing them, like, we feel that we've got a strong enough market and strong enough demand for this. And part of I think what made it really easy to get that first license too was because, again, it was something that there wasn't really a lot of out there. So they were probably looking for someone to do something with it as well.
Well, that's good timing then for you guys to get such a, iconic license to kick off your whole company there. Tell me a little bit what the landscape was like. Were you selling online mostly? Were you selling to diamond distributors? Were you selling to retail? Like, how did you get the product out there?
Yeah, even to this day, we don't do a whole lot of direct-to-consumer sales. I mean, we sell at the conventions, we sell a little bit on our website, but most of our sales are done through our distributors, and Diamond Comics is one of our biggest ones, of course. They're one of the biggest ones out there. So, they pretty much get a lot of our product into all the retail shops, comic shops, e-commerce stores, etc. Yeah, they do a lot of that for us. They do a pretty good job. We feel like they got a lot of our products out there.
We're going to talk about Diamond a little bit later. I want to really get deep into the distribution network and what's happening right now in the COVID-19 world. But I want to back up a little bit and talk a bit about the
Yeah,
production of making some of these collectible items. You are not a
yeah.
sculptor. You're not a designer. You're like the business guy. So you're the one that gets the license and then you find the talent to create it. So maybe walk us through maybe the Lion-O, like how did you like so okay, you got the license and then what? How does it become a statue for sale?
Yeah, so that one I had a pretty good relationship with the guys over at the Four Horsemen in New Jersey. A lot of collectors will probably know their names. They did a lot of work with McFarlane Toys back in the day. They do a lot of work for Mattel. They have their own successful line right now. I think it's like the Mythic Legions line that's going pretty strong with them, which is their own IP. So right away I went to because I knew what their work was all about. I mean, when I was working at the retail company, we sold a lot of things that they made. So they actually for that one, I went straight to them. I said, look, at the time they worked a lot on the Mattel Masters of the Universe stuff, and that was pretty hot. And I think they did a little bit for NECA as well. NECA had some of the Masters of the Universe. They call them the Staction
Oh
figures.
yeah.
They're like just non-articulated
Love those,
figures.
love
Remember
those.
those? Those are pretty hot. So anyway, we sold a lot of the stuff, so we knew the Four Horsemen's work, and I had a good relationship with them. So I went to them because the fans who were into the Masters of the Universe stuff were also Thundercats fans. So really, it was pretty simple. It was just going straight to them and say, "Hey guys, I got this license. I want to work with you guys. Let's make it happen." And they loved it because that's one of the things that they want. They're fans themselves, and that was one of the things they want. They're actually working on it now for I think Super Seven. I
Hmm.
think is doing
Yeah,
right or
yeah.
Mattel. One of them
Both of
or
them are,
both.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
doing Thundercat
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, yeah. So they're working on stuff for them now. But yeah, you know back in 2008, 2009, they were doing that Thundercat stuff for us. That was awesome. But and the good thing about working with them, they know the property so well that it's not like I had to go there and say, okay, this is Lionel,
Yeah.
this is Mumra. They knew everybody. They needed no direction. It was just like I want to make a Lionel statue. I want to make a Mumra statue. I want to do a Cat's Lair. I want to do a Thunder Tank. And that's all. They just went from there and did their thing because they already knew all that whole world. I mean, now that we have so many more licenses now, a lot of the stuff, we have different sculptors working on our projects. A lot of them don't know what some of these things are. Some of them do. Some of them are fans.
Yeah.
Some aren't. So in those instances, it takes a lot more, back and forth communication to get things right. Like, of course, we start off with a concept, whether it's a concept drawing, we're taking maybe a screen grab from something, whatever. We tell them this is what we want to do, and then they have to start sculpting. But the one that takes the most time, especially, is when you're dealing with likenesses. Like if you're dealing with a actor or an actress, from a popular show, and they're trying to grab that correct facial expression or anatomy, or just the nuances, their features. That part sometimes takes a long time, just back and forth trying to get that right.
And then after you get all the sculpt and the approval from the company, the licensor all down, then you have to go to China and produce in a factory, right?
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit, how does that process work?
yeah. I mean, China, right, is a whole another animal. I mean, there are quite a few factories out there, many actually, to work with, but you have to find the ones that are experienced because there might be a factory out there that you know might be offering you a really low price, but their work probably may not be as great, and then you end up with something that's not doesn't look as good and ends up just sitting on shelves or maybe never going into production. It's just it was just it's a lot of trial and errors with different factories until we find the ones that we're comfortable to work with. But we think we've kind of got that down. We've got a handful of factories that we trust now. That's kind of that we stick to make all of our stuff.
And they've been making your stuff for like 10 years now, or do you find different factories that do different
Yeah,
stuff? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
No, we have some new. I mean, it depends because different factories um, specialize in different mediums, right? Like maybe there's one. because we do a whole bunch of different things now. We're not just doing statues, but whether if we're working with resin, we have a resin factory. If we're working with plastic, we have a plastic factory. If we're working with die cast, we have a metal factory. They're different ones. Most factories specialize in one particular type of medium.
And then what's the production timeline, would you say, when you send in your, I guess, sculpts until you get the final product
Mhm.
put on a boat to ship back to the US? Like, how long does that production process
Hmm.
take?
Yeah, it depends on what we're making. I mean, like if we're doing a statue, I would say, I mean, you're probably looking at about maybe for production itself, maybe 2 to 3 months. If we're looking like an action figure, maybe a little bit longer, maybe another month or two longer than that. But some things like we do like metal and stuff, that's not as long. Maybe that one's like maybe I would say like a month or so. It just depends on what we're making.
Okay, so tell us, are you working on the production of products right now for the fall and winter of 2020?
Oh yeah, yeah. We're working on quite a few things right now. Like right now, our Karate Kid action figures are in production right now. Those should probably be out in the summer. We got some Golden Girls bobbleheads. Those are also coming out probably early summer. Um, there are a bunch of other like projects we haven't announced yet that should be coming out as well. We're trying to hit a lot of the stuff that we're working on now is usually is for around third quarter. So you're looking at like July, August, September.
So what do you have in the factory right now in China?
We got the from Archie Comics. We're doing the Jughead, the Hunger, and Vampironica. Those two are in production right now. We have from Robotech. We're doing some. We call them 142nd scale statues. They're actually about like 13 inches tall. We're doing a VF1J Rick Hunter and the VF1S Roy Fokker Batloid statues. So those are also in production right now. We got a Superman statue on the way from DC. We got some Star Trek stuff coming out. 4 or 5 pretty cool Star Trek stuff that we're working on. So that should be out also pretty soon.
Are you making anything for Picard?
Not for Star Trek Picard. No, not yet. That one we hope to, we'd like to, but no, nothing yet.
That's it. Quite interesting. So there's a lot of product being made right now. So you don't see any issues with the factories in China because of the COVID-19. Everybody's still working on toys.
Chinese New Year, which is when factories always shut down for 3 to 4 weeks. They usually shut down end of February till about early to mid March. This whole virus thing came about while they were on Chinese New Year, so none of them were allowed to open during their scheduled times after the New Year's. A lot of them, most actually, I think all of them had to stay closed for an extra maybe 2 to 3 weeks. I think it was maybe a little bit longer.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we had a lot of stuff that was going into production right before Chinese New Year started. So that pushed, of course, our whole schedule back by maybe about a month or so because they were closed. And it's not just us, it's everybody. I mean, everybody who had to make stuff in China had their stuff delayed because nobody was allowed to go back to work until the government gave them the okay.
If San Diego Comic-Con goes forward, was any of
Mhm.
your exclusives in production for that?
Yep. Yes. Lots of them.
So you
Lots
would
of
have
them.
not made it anyways then. You would have missed that if the Comic-Con goes through, which is not, but let's just say it does. You're not going to have any exclusives in time because of the
No,
shutdown, the
we
later
will. We
shutdown.
will. We
Oh,
will.
you will. Okay.
We gave ourselves the margin of error in case something's happened. I mean, we're still on track
Yeah.
to. I mean, we actually are still producing our San Diego Comic Con exclusives as we speak. They're still in production. They're almost done. Actually, we're gonna have them
Oh,
in
wow.
time, but it's just a matter of figuring out what we're gonna do with it. Like you said, whether the show goes on or not, who knows right now, right? They're not saying,
Yeah.
but when you see, I mean, Emerald City Comic Con, WonderCon, both of those big ones, South by Southwest, E3,
Olympics.
Olympics, exactly, Olympics. I mean, you've seen
The
all
major
these,
one, yeah.
yeah, exactly, all these events being canceled. I mean, obviously, we hope that it's still on, but we understand safety and health first, no matter what.
You've been going to San Diego Comic-Con for, I don't know, 15 years, more than 15 years, right? So you definitely know that you've got to prepare those exclusives way ahead of time because you know.
I remember when I used to work for another retail company. They had a whole bunch of San Diego exclusives that were delayed, and I think it was like customs or something. I can't remember, but so preview night Wednesday is huge, right? Everyone
Yeah.
everyone just runs from booth to booth to buy all the exclusives.
Yeah, it's so much
We
fun. Yeah.
we had nothing because nothing was there, and so everyone who came
Oh,
looking for the exclusives that were all announced, said, I want to buy it. We're like, sorry, we don't have it. But if you come back Friday, we should have it. So that was really
oh,
weird. That was so weird to do that. And then of course, once Friday came, our stuff finally arrived and everything, and it was just crazy. Everyone just lined up and everything finally came. But so I learned from that, from at least that experience, you know, um, not with Icon Heroes, is when we're making our because with the real retail company, we really had no control, right? Our vendors were making the exclusives, but now with Icon, we
yeah,
kind of have some control, for the
yeah.
most part. So we try our best to plan them out early enough so that we get them and not have to stress about when is this going to arrive. We want to have it in our hands at least a month before the show.
Now that we're talking about conventions, like I have a ton of questions about that, but let's start with how do you pick your exclusives for the convention? I think a lot of people
Yeah,
save a lot of money, and
yeah,
we also know there's a lot of reselling to actually pay for their trips to the conventions.
yeah,
But how
yeah.
do you pick? Like, what are you going to make? Do you listen to fan response? Do you pick it yourself? Is it licensors? Like, who makes those decisions?
Actually, it's kind of a mix of everything you said. Sometimes we'll bounce ideas back and forth with the licensors because licensors have their own creative departments there. So a lot of times they'll have an idea saying, "Hey, I think this would be really cool if you did something like this." A lot of times it's our own customers. Like Diamond, for instance, is one of our biggest distributors. They always buy um, one or two exclusives for their shows every year. So a lot of it is just them coming to us and saying, "We want this. Can you make this?" And
Uh,
that's really, if whatever, if they want it, it's fine. We'll try our best to make it happen. As far as our own exclusives, we're all fans of a lot of these properties too. So a lot of it is just kind of coming up with our own stuff. There's really, we don't really have I wouldn't say we really have like a blueprint or anything. It's more just kind of like something we just kind of brainstorm and just think, what would with the San Diego exclusives, obviously, we always try to pick something that's I would say it's cool. It's cool enough where people want to buy it, but it might not be something like for the masses because you're not selling tens and thousands of it, right? Sandy, you want to keep it
yeah,
limited, and you don't want to upset
yeah.
all those people who couldn't get it because, like you said, what happens is there's that big resale, right? If we limit something to 1,500 or 2,000 when normally you would sell 5,000, there'll be people who buy it with no intent of keeping it, knowing that they're going to go up and flip it for 100, 200% markup in the secondary market right after. So we try to find something that appeases fans, that they'll enjoy, keep it really limited so it gives them some collectability.
What do you find in the past, few years that you've been doing this? Like, what are the popular ones? Is it based on character? Is it based on the unique design of it, or is it like, oh, we know this is going to be worth a lot of money, so we're just going to buy it?
I would say all of that. For instance, we're next to Hasbro, and Hasbro, of course, always has a Star Wars exclusive, and it seems like their Star Wars exclusives always do well. So that's no matter what it is. So that's just a
Yeah.
brand, Star Wars, right? Sometimes it doesn't even matter what they're selling, but if it says Star Wars and it's limited, they seem to do really well with it. Other things like we've done some things before that were super limited, and but people knew it was super limited, so they just bought it. Like I think we did some statues before that were like limited to just 50, and of course, it was already all gone. 50 to 100 of them, they were already all gone because they knew there's only 50 to 100 of them. They didn't even care what it was really. No,
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. But, people just. I think the name Comic Con exclusive, especially San Diego Comic Con exclusive itself, has already become this, popular trending theme that as soon as people hear it, they go, "Oh, I have to get it because it's a San Diego Comic Con exclusive."
So I remember going to Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con on Wednesday night, the preview night. And when those doors opened at what is the time, like 4 o'clock, everybody runs into the exclusives to grab the exclusives.
Yeah, preview night is very crazy. There's a lot of people going from booth to booth just to get exclusive. I mean, really, there's nothing else going on that night. There's no panels, no events inside or outside. It's all just pure shopping. So all the collectors know what booths to go to, and they have groups of them sometimes. One will go to one booth, the other will go to the other booth. You see security yelling at people to stop running. You hear the PA system telling people to stop running. But yeah, it's a madhouse. A lot of people doing their shopping.
So you've been to a lot of conventions. San Diego, of course, is like the number one, still the number one convention. I saw you at the Star Trek convention in Las Vegas. Which other ones do you go to that you think, what's your other favorite shows that you go to in terms of A, for retail, for like selling your product, and B, for like just, is it as fun as San Diego?
I think San Diego is probably the biggest one. It's it's in the perfect time, right in the middle of the summer. A lot of people can take off for vacation. Kids are out of school, so they can make it a whole family affair. It's probably easy for people to fly from all over the world. Sales wise, that's our biggest by far. I mean, we've done some other shows, like you mentioned, we've done the Star Trek show, which is of course real niche, but it definitely has a strong fan base for Trekkies. We've done New York Comic Con, C2E2, and we were supposed to do the Emerald City Comic Con last month, but of course it was canceled with the whole coronavirus thing going on. So we were excited for that one because we've
Yeah.
never done that before. We've done WonderCon before, so yeah, we've definitely have a pretty good presence in some of these shows, and we're trying to do more as well. But San Diego by far is probably the biggest one still.
Do these conference conventions do they add a lot of value to you other than sales? Do they build brand awareness with your consumers, or like, because I see when Marvel and DC go there, they're there, they roll out new comics, they roll out all their artists and their talent to sign autographs, and then there's the movie companies that are there promoting their films that are coming out next summer or whatever. They're all in the genre specific. And then you've got all the indie toy companies, indie comic companies, all in there as well. Like, how do you stand out at like something like a San Diego Comic Con compared to when you have all these like Harry Potter actors and the Avengers
Yeah,
there?
that's a good question. I mean, there's so many vendors over there. Everyone's got something to offer for everyone. So it's you kind of want to create like I guess kind of like an event, give people a reason to come to your booth. Obviously, the exclusives help. Everyone loves to find that limited edition exclusive, so that is a good draw to the booth as well. We've also done some things that we've had some signings, celebrity signings, artists, come to the booth and sign product for the fans, and they love it. We had, I think, a celebrity signing a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, uh, with the actor Colin O'Donoghue from ABC's Once Upon a Time, and he was signing some Hook statues. He plays Captain Hook on the show, and people were lined up as soon as the show opened, 9 a.m. And he wasn't signing until I think like, it was like 1:30 or something like that. It was right after lunch, but they waited in line for 4 or 5 hours for him, and he was awesome. He signed every single one for everybody. Everyone loved it. But it's things like that to give people a reason to come to your booth. Like you mentioned, Marvel. Yeah, Marvel, of course, they have a lot of their Avengers and other talents in their booth signing. That always draws people to their booth. So yeah, so, we try to do the same things with whatever we're working on as well.
I'm looking at your license list here, and it's quite a differentiator, quite a unique list of stuff. Like, I see you have DC Comics, you got Harry Potter, you got Star Trek, Terminator, Robotech, which are all very you know famous and very exciting ones. And then you have Archie, Ghostbusters, Karate Kid, and the Golden Girls. Can you tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about your philosophy on how you get licenses, and how come the Golden Girls are in there? That's what I want to know the
Yeah, it's
most.
pretty weird combination, I guess, right? A lot of those properties like Karate Kid and like Ghostbusters, they're from the 80s, and I grew up in the 80s. I love those properties when I, when I was younger, and it was pretty cool to work on those again. They got a pretty good following, especially Karate Kid. They got that Cobra Kai series on YouTube, which is doing really well right now. I think the third season's coming out soon, and so that's kind of brought back a resurgence for the original movies, and Ghostbusters as well. It seems to still live on, and now they have that new movie coming out, which, well, I guess it was supposed to be out this summer, but the coronavirus issue kind of pushed it back to next year. But that's probably going to be a resurgence as well in that brand to a whole new generation. Golden Girls is a pretty funny one. You know, it's one of those properties that you probably don't expect it to do well, but for whatever reason, there just is a diehard fan base out there for the Golden Girls. Last year at Comic Con, we met Xavier Woods. We had a so last year at Comic Con, we debuted we previewed our upcoming Golden Girls bobbleheads and some of the vinyl figures, and we had a limited edition Rose bobblehead where she's dressed in a gold dress, and Xavier Woods
Yeah.
from the WWE came by to pick one up, and he was telling us how huge of a Golden Girls fan he is. And he showed me a
Yeah.
video of a room in his house that's dedicated to Golden Girls memorabilia. There's he had I think it was like lunch boxes and shot glasses, mugs, whatnot, all kinds of. It was just all Golden Girls things. So yeah, the fans are everywhere, and a lot of the ones who you'd least expect to be a fan. Archie's been around for years, and so they definitely have a pretty good following. But they have those live action shows now, like Riverdale, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Katie Keene is that new one and it has Josie from Josie and the Pussycats. So, the live action stuff definitely is putting Archie back on the map as well.
I'm looking at DC Comics, and I've seen some of the products. So I know you started a lot out with big success with a lot of the CW shows. You're the first one to have Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow. You had all the first product of the shows, and a lot of people didn't know, probably waiting and seeing to see the popularity of these shows, and then end up they were huge, and you were right there at the beginning.
Yeah, Arrow was our first DC property that we worked on, and true story, when we first started working on Arrow, well, before we started working on Arrow, I had no idea what Arrow was. Never heard of it. Didn't know anything about it. And one night before bed, before I went to bed, I just got on Netflix and figured try to find something to watch. Just kind of surfing through the titles, and I came across Arrow, and I was like, "What is this?" Then I kind of looked into it, and it said, "Oh, it's based on DC's Green Arrow." And I never read the comics, so I mean, I know who all the main DC characters are, but I never really read any of the Green Arrow stuff, so didn't know much about them. But it sounded pretty cool. It looked like a kind of Christopher Nolan Dark Knight type gritty take on the characters. So I watched the first couple episodes, and then after that, I was like, "Wow, this is actually pretty cool." And I didn't see any merchandise on it, so I thought it'd be a pretty cool thing to make, and that's when I contacted them, and yeah, they were all cool with it. So we came out, we did Arrow, and with Arrow spawned Flash, Atom, Black Canary. A lot of the characters that were on there made for some pretty cool product. In fact, Brandon Ruth, who plays the Atom, he loved it. We shipped him up a whole bunch of them, and he took pictures with them, posted on social media, which is cool. Grant Gustin loved his Flash. We shipped I think 4 of them to him during Christmas. Guessing he gave them away as Christmas gifts. So yeah, I mean, it was a real fun property to work on, and from there, from Arrow, that's when we just kind of grew to started doing all the other DC stuff. Did a bunch of the movie stuff, like from Justice League, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and then a whole bunch of the classic stuff as well.
I'm also looking at the other DC Comics product that you're doing. Some of the new Teen Titans, like the Changeling and Deathstroke the Terminator. But you chose like the 1980s George Perez, Marv Wolfman specifically designs. Is there a reason why you chose those guys and not maybe something more modern?
The classic Teen Titans stuff that Marv Wolfman and George Perez did, that was actually one of the few comics I actually read. So I was pretty familiar with that whole storyline. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff being made on that. I mean, there were some Teen Titans stuff, but like you said, more modern stuff. I mean, we did a modern Deathstroke from the Rebirth comics. I think it was a year or two ago. So we definitely know that all the from modern stuff has been out there already, but we wanted to kind of go back and do stuff that wasn't done before. And so yeah, that was a real fun thing to work on. And we had Marv Wolfman's blessing; he loved it. I actually had a lunch meeting with him once, and we talked a lot about just about what him and George were thinking about when they were doing all the Titan stuff. So it was real cool to talk to him about it. And then we even did a last Comic Con. We did a vigilante statue from the old, that same time because Marv was the writer. He pretty much created vigilante. So he was in our booth last summer at Comic Con as well, signing Titan statues and vigilante statues for the fans.
Have you seen Titans, the live action Titan show?
I saw the first season. I saw parts of the second season, but they did a great job. I thought it was a pretty cool. Well, I thought the costumes were pretty cool. I would love to have worked on something like that as well.
Do you have the rights for doing those figures as well?
Unfortunately, we do not have the rights for Titans. Actually, we don't have the rights to any of the shows on the DC Universe app. It's kind of a separate deal, I think, with Warner Brothers, and so even Young Justice, we would have loved to have done Young Justice, but
Huh.
yeah, that one is everything on there is not
Ooh,
not available for licensing, at least
wow.
as of what was it last year when we first asked, but I don't know, who knows, maybe now it is, but yeah, no, we currently do not have that license.
How's Star Trek doing? I'm always interested. I'm a big fan of the Captain Kirk Star Trek, the original series. As you know, I'll buy like almost anything that's got to do with that. But obviously, what is that? How old is that now? Like 60 years ago. So they've got new iterations now. Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard are like the kind of new generation for Star Trek fans that are millennials, right? So do you make products for any of that stuff? And is Star Trek still selling? Because I don't know. We've always discussed this in the past. Like all our friends have had the license, and it's never really sold very well. But
Yeah, no, there's actually been a resurgence because of the new shows now on CBS All Access. Discovery is doing really well. Picard's doing really well, and we have
yeah,
some new product that we're actually are in production right now. We can't say what they are, but we have some stuff coming out. Not from Picard, but we have some next gen and some Discovery stuff that are in the works. It should be out this summer.
I think that Captain Pike is going to get a show too. I don't think that's confirmed, but I think they're going to spin off another one with the with those guys as well. Do you know that?
I don't
Is
know.
it
I
confirmed?
heard something about that too, but we never received any confirmation of that, so I have no idea. But yeah, Captain Pike on the show on Discovery was awesome. I loved Anson Mount's take on the character, and I thought they did a really good job integrating his storyline into Discovery.
Yeah, Picard was cool, but the characters didn't look very toyetic, right? They don't look like those things you really want to collect, except for maybe a Picard and maybe Seven of Nine, right?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Picard series. There's probably um, some things there that we'd probably have fun doing. But yeah, for the most part, I think right now fans are still, they're loving the next gen stuff and the Discovery stuff. We did this Picard face palm bust paperweight for Think Geek. I think it was a couple years ago, and it's based off his famous face palm meme, and that thing did phenomenal. I think it was like 17, a little over 1,700 pieces. Might have been like 1,701. I can't remember, something like that. And I think they sold out within 24 hours. And so they wanted more. So, but of course, we had a number. We couldn't make more of the same one. But we did a bronze edition for them, and they did no, awesome with that one too. That's all sold out as well.
That's really amazing. It's like, and they're also doing Robotech. Robotech is that's got to be 40 years old as well. I think it was on Netflix, and I was trying to watch it again, but it's really hard to watch because wow, that animation.
Well, Robotech's, it's been around since what, the 80s. Also, it's another one of those 80s genre shows, and there's still a lot of merchandise out there for it. But they also have that live action film that's supposed to be coming out, I think, in a year or two from Sony. So that should be pretty cool, especially with all the technology these days. I mean, just the way they do Transformers now, I'm sure that would translate well into something like Robotech. I can't wait to see that. But I think, when that movie comes out, you're going to see even a bigger resurgence for the property.
All right, yeah, I guess like I guess it's a Golden Girls thing too. I guess there's still fans, and you still need to buy a new Robotech product every year. That's another thing I found, which it back me up if I'm right. But we've been doing this for a long time, and like you did Lion-O, you did Thundercats, like wow, over 10 years ago, and then it seems like it keeps coming back every couple of years, and then it'll die off, and it'll come back again. I mean, that's a harder one to take because it's like it's like a vintage thing. Like people grew up with that stuff, but it feels like Terminator, for instance. You've got Terminator license as well. I was always thinking, how many Terminator figures do we need? It's the same guy, it's the same robot. It's just maybe a different pose and a different material. But then I find, you know what? It's not for me who's bought like 10 of them already. It's for like the kids who are like seeing it for the first time today and buying a Terminator figure today because they just saw the movie for the first time and they're like, wow, this is fantastic. I really love this. I want to be part of this. I want this on my desk. I want this on my thing. What do you think? Do you think it's a generational thing rather than just to the collectors?
I do think it's a generational thing. I think sometimes, you get, let's say, um, a lot of times they revamp the stuff. So yeah, you might have, say, a Terminator figure that you bought maybe a year or two ago, but let's say now the new one that comes out, it's maybe done differently, maybe done better. Maybe there's a little more added features to it than the one you had. So that might be one take on it, why people want to buy it. And secondly, a lot of it is maybe the one that you bought is not available anymore. People can't find it. So the new collectors in the business, the only way to get a Terminator figure is to buy the one that's out now, unless they want to pay like a certain amount of money for an old one on the secondary market. So that's probably another thing too. I think you do kind of need to refresh these things every now and then because there's always new people coming into the collector market who are looking to buy things that they couldn't have gotten now because some of the stuff are so old, unless they want to pay a lot of money for it. Like Star Wars, for instance, you want to start collecting Star Wars figures. Are you going to pay $1,000 or whatever it is for a vintage Boba Fett, or pay $20 for the new ones that are out now? And the new ones have way more articulation, better sculpts, everything, right?
I just got the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes classified, and it's a 6-inch figure. And holy crap, does it look amazing compared to the old 3 3/4 inch ones?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great example. The Snake Eyes that you bought probably has way more articulation and detail than the one that came out in the 80s, which had limited articulation and probably weren't sculpted as well. Like I was saying earlier, I think that's what the refresh is doing. It's trying to find ways of making it better. I mean, of course, some people will go and refresh by bringing back the vintage stuff just to kind of give that vintage
That's
look
true.
for those, old school collectors. But for the most part, all the refresh stuff are much better looking, much more
Yeah.
better features and
Yeah.
everything.
All right. So now I want to kind of talk a little bit about what's happening today, 2020, amid the coronavirus. The world is a different place. We are doing this recording podcast now on the second Wednesday that Diamond is no longer delivering new comics to comic book stores. Marvel has told a lot of their creators now to stop working on new product. And I went to a comic book store yesterday to help them out, buy a couple of things in there. And they told me they're not even getting reorders from Diamond as well. So, what is your take? What is Icon Heroes take right now? How does your business look today?
Yeah, it's definitely tough times right now with Diamond, especially not shipping things to different outlets. I think now a lot of it is just trying to get through this, and I think they're going to be up and running. We're trying to be within a month or two, at least to get the warehouses open so things can start shipping again. But I mean, it's obviously important, but without the warehouses open, we can't ship them product, and then if we can't ship them product, they can't ship them out to the stores, and our stuff is nowhere. So a lot of it we'll have to probably rely more on doing more online direct to
Yeah.
consumer business instead, or maybe we'll have to start shipping things ourselves to a lot of the retailers. Yeah, it's tough. We're gonna have to find just different ways of getting our stuff out there now.
It's so weird because I just read this book on the 1990s comic book market. And I don't know if you remember that time or you're buying comics at that time, but at the beginning of the 90s, it was Image just launched and they were selling millions of comic books. And then by 1999, it was over. The party was over. All these comic book stores closed. It was like it was the most incredible decade for retail in the pop culture space of all time until I guess now. Now it's a big time. So what do you see us as we come out of this? How do you think it's going to happen? Another one of your major retail outlets is GameStop, and they are shutting stores down. not only because of COVID-19, but also the state of the marketplace as well. And at the same time, though, I'm also feeling like, even myself personally, I've been out of the collecting game a little bit, but I feel like this year I'm getting back into it a lot. I'm buying these G.I. Joes. I'm looking at the Star Wars. McFarlane just ran his first Kickstarter, which is out of control, exciting. I think a lot of people who've kind of stepped out or kind of get back into it now. What do you think is going to happen in, like, say, 6 months when we hopefully come out of this?
Well, I mean, I think let's say we get this thing settled down within 6 months. I think it's still going to be a pretty um, gradual progress back to our normal or our old normal. I think right now, there are a lot of people who are out of work, collecting unemployment. So the disposable income isn't there that used to be there. So even let's say 6 months, businesses are open again. I'm not so sure a lot of people would jump right back in and start spending their money again because they have to kind of pick up the pieces and get their lives all back together to what was before. I mean, the stuff that we do is non-essential, and
Exactly.
it's probably going to last thing they're thinking of. They probably need to get their lives in order first before thinking about buying the next statue or action figure.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up a couple of last questions here. What my question to you, one of the things, I mean, if you can remember your whole line of product over your last 10 years, what was your personal favorite product or license that you did that you thought would sell well but didn't? And then which one did you think wouldn't sell that well but did very well? I guess you're going to say that's Picard facepalm one for sure is probably one of them, but tell me what you think is your answer to that question.
Okay, so I'll start with the one that I thought personally would sell really well, but didn't do too well, and that was our very first one, Thundercats, because there wasn't a whole lot of people baking it. So I thought, okay, we got to do something with Thundercats. It's going to do well. The initial wave that we did of Thundercats did do pretty well. We did a Lino and a Mumra, which did decent. We did actually pretty good numbers for our first license, and then we did a Cat's Lair. We did a Thunder Tank, and then we did. Let's see, there were some other ones we planned afterwards, some other characters. But after those initial ones that we did, all the subsequent characters that came after did not do well at all, and we were just surprised the line just kind of crashed from there. And we thought we had a
Oh,
whole line
interesting.
planned. Yeah, we had a whole line planned for all the other characters, and for whatever reason, it just didn't take off after that. So I was a little disappointed we didn't get to continue all that but like I said, the first initial ones that came out did really well, but afterwards, it just didn't do well at all.
Do you think that was a
Um,
market condition of what was going on in the economy at the time, or do you think it was just like people didn't want to
it,
buy Thundercats?
I don't, I don't know. I mean, I felt like they did want to buy Thundercats, but they were only focused on the main guys at the time, only like Lino and Mumra. That was it. Anybody
Yeah.
else after that, nobody really cared about. So
Yeah.
so it didn't really give us and actually, you know what? I talked to several other licensees on Thundercats afterwards who also got it after
Yeah.
me. They all said the same thing.
Yeah.
After Lino and Mumra, there was nothing else afterwards. It was like people bought a little bit here and there, but it was not enough to support the line to go over through. Maybe it's different now. Maybe it's different now. I don't know. Maybe now with the other guys doing it, I haven't kept up with how many they're making, but it could be different. But
There's
back then,
yeah.
the few of us that had a license all kind of experienced the same thing. I talked to several people, but the one that I was really happy with that was Masters of the Universe. That one I thought that was like one of my favorite ones to work on because I grew up in the '80s and it was pretty cool to revisit that whole world. And one of the first things we did was we actually did a Castle Grayskull statue. It was the first time anyone ever had a Castle Grayskull where you could see it from all the views, not just the. Remember the old
The
Mattel
front.
toy was just the
Yeah, just the
front, right,
front.
like that. Yeah, no, we did everything. Dude, we had the top, the roof, we had those all the sides, everything, all the details on it. It was the first time, and we did so well with that one. I think we went back into production like 3 or 4 times. In fact, that
Wow.
statue, we sold a ton of those. That I was I was really really happy with that one. But the one that I just didn't expect much of was that Star Trek Picard facepalm bust. I never imagined how well that would have done. It was like the gift that kept on giving. It was like
Wow.
we just took a funny meme out there. We're like, oh, this is pretty
Yeah.
funny. No one's ever done anything about. There's Star Wars statues and busts out there, but never done like in that funny comical style, right? Meme style, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
we just when we saw the numbers, we were blown away. We're like, wow.
$60 kind of joke figure.
Yeah, exactly,
That's amazing.
exactly. It was, yeah. But yeah, at the time, ThinkGeek, who bought it, they were huge supporters of Star Trek. That was like their thing. They were like the biggest
Yeah.
Star Trek customer out there. It's too bad they're gone. I love their site. I love their company. They had a lot of cool stuff on there.
I mean, they got bought
By
by
GameStop.
GameStop?
But I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. I don't think the site is even working anymore. I think everything just goes straight to GameStop. But we love GameStop. And GameStop, last year was probably our biggest supporter last year. They bought like tens of thousands of our DC statues. They did so well. I mean, they just bought a ton of stuff. Yeah, they're
Oh,
huge.
okay. Let's talk about that for a minute. GameStop has more stores than Diamond distributes to, but will they still be around in the next few years? Are they going to be like the new Tower Records? Video games are already downloadable, so why am I going into these places to buy a cartridge for a game? But it seems to be a great crossover between gamers and people who buy Star Trek action figures or whatever, right? So tell me, what is your experience with GameStop, and then what do you see is going to happen like in the next few years, past all this coronavirus into the next, like say by 2025 even?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I hope they're around. I mean, like I said, they're one of our biggest supporters. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. They're pretty much the only brick and mortar store that I can think of that's selling collectibles now because Tower Records, Suncoast, remember Suncoast,
Yeah.
Sam Goody's, all those places are also gone now. They used to sell a lot of collectibles, other than comic stores, of course. But I think part of the reason why, like I said, I think part of the reason why GameStop got into that business was they probably saw that void there because over the years that we've been working with them, they've been ordering more and more collectibles. They really want to grow that collectibles business because Toys R Us also is gone, so there wasn't a whole lot of brick and mortars that were selling that kind of stuff other than the comic stores. And because GameStop had the locations with all these strip malls and shopping malls, that kind of positioned them to be that one store in those malls to have the collectibles. And I
Mm.
think what helped them was they were doing a lot of exclusives, so you had to go to GameStop to get them anyway. But I think e-commerce, though, that's good. E-commerce is just going to get stronger regardless. I mean, especially now we're all quarantined, everyone's staying home, everyone's just shopping online, buying stuff what they need. I think people are going to see, realize how much easier it is, and probably I think people will still go to the malls. People like to walk around, do a lot of window shopping, see things, but e-commerce isn't going to go away. I mean, it's probably just going to be stronger even a few years from now.
Yeah, especially I've been using Amazon Prime recently,
Yeah.
and getting a graphic novel or an action
Mm,
figure the
mm.
next day is just
Yeah,
incredible.
it's crazy, right?
Um, so I'm very enjoying that experience, and so if I can get an Icon Heroes product um, in a day instead of having to go to the mall and take a look for it. But I feel like GameStop and your product is not. Um, it's more like an impulse thing, right? Like Golden Girls, I don't think fans are like pre-ordering 6 months ahead of time to get their Golden Girls bobblehead. This is the kind of thing that they walk into a store, see it in the window, and go, "Oh my god, I got to get that." Like that's the kind of feeling I think will disappear unless you pay a lot of money to Amazon and they're getting if they're finding out who the Golden Girl buyers are, and then you're sending direct mail to those people. I mean, I don't know. What do you
Well,
think?
I mean, Amazon's actually carrying our Golden Girl stuff too.
So someone's Googling Golden Girls
Yeah,
and they'll find the
yeah,
DVDs, the books, and the
yeah.
bobbleheads.
Yeah, we have some. Yeah, we have some people who, one of our customers, in fact, who bought a bunch of the Golden Girl bobbleheads. They sell tons of Golden Girl stuff.
So what's going to be coming up for Icon Heroes that you can tell us?
Well, the one new thing we can talk about right now is we're doing some stuff from Top Gun. both the classic and the upcoming Maverick film.
Ooh.
Yeah, we do some pretty cool things. We can't say just yet. The plan was we were going to show them off at San Diego Comic-Con, but who knows
Yeah.
now. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll probably start showing product, but
Okay.
probably in about a month or two, we hope to have some of the first things to show. But yeah, it's pretty cool. That's been pretty fun to work on. You know,
And
uh,
what's a license that you want to get that you haven't got yet that you're like, this would be the dream one?
I don't know. I mean, we just locked up a couple ones we've been after for some time. We'll be announcing
Okay.
those soon as well. Um, Working on some pretty cool things with that one. I mean, right now we're just trying to manage all the ones we have right now. We got a whole bunch, and just want to make sure we get everything out on time. But we're always looking for the next big thing, just like everybody else, trying to find what we think fits in with what we're working on. The collectible market
Yeah.
is pretty crowded right now. There's so many things
There
out there
is
that,
a lot of
yeah,
product. Yeah.
exactly. So we gotta look for that niche or that thing that
Yeah.
is not out there, trying to fill a void.
I feel like, yeah, I think more facepalm, more of those kind of
Yeah,
unique product
yeah,
is kind of what
yeah,
Icon Heroes. I mean, you've got a Jughead Polystone statue that's not a
yeah,
Jughead. It's like
yeah,
Jughead is a werewolf. I mean, I
yeah.
don't know if that's from the comic or what, but that's like
It is.
crazy.
Yeah, it's from their.
Okay.
So Archie has a horror line, a horror comics line.
Okay. Okay.
Archie has, if you look at Archie, actually, they have a bunch of pretty funny crossovers. Well, actually, cool crossovers too. They have an Archie and Predator crossover. It's pretty
Yeah.
funny. Yeah,
They also
they're
have a
everywhere.
superhero line. Like
Yeah,
Archie and Jughead were superheroes
yeah, yeah,
in the 70s, I think.
yeah.
They had some good, yeah.
There's one with Betty and Veronica, almost like they're in the Black Widow outfits. It's like this black spandex with
Oh
like the
yeah, I
belt.
just saw
Yeah,
a comic about that. I saw Betty
yeah,
Veronica meets Red Sonja and
yeah,
Vampirella or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I think they're
yeah,
doing a lot of crossovers all over the place, which is
yeah,
exciting. I think remember in the old days, like
yeah,
seeing Spider-Man and Superman meet was like epic. Like people were like, "Oh
yeah,
my God, I can't believe this is happening." Now
yeah,
it's like crossovers are happening every day with things that you never thought would ever
yeah.
cross over. It's awesome. So there's a lot of sounds to me a lot of optimism in Icon Heroes, a lot of optimism from yourself in the market growing and the customer base coming back and everything is going to look great. So it's really good to hear that from you. And I hope everything you think and believe is going to come true.
Yeah, man. Just everyone just stay safe and healthy. Everyone do your part, and let's get things back to normal.
I can't wait to hear this podcast again in like a year and
Yeah,
see
be awesome.
where we are. Or we're like
Yeah,
laughing, like, oh man, can you believe we thought it was gonna be so tough? Or oh
yeah.
man, can you believe we thought everything's gonna be back to normal already? Oh jeez. I just can't understand. All right, Pat, thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate it. Everybody, check out iconheroes.com. They're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks a lot, Pat.
Cool, man. Thanks, Casey. Always good talking to you.
That was Pat Wang, the co-founder of Icon Heroes. And again, you can find him at iconheroes.com and all the social media as at Icon Heroes. Thanks again, Pat, for talking to us about your collectibles business and to your continuing success in the collectibles marketplace. You may be listening to this as a podcast or on YouTube. This is just a heads up that you can find us on all podcast apps and on YouTube. As always, please like and subscribe and help us to grow the channel to other fans out there that may want to learn more about this pop culture market. My name is Casey Lau, and you can send me news, interview requests, and just general feedback to me on Twitter at HyperCasey. And don't forget to follow The Hyper Room on Twitter and Instagram at The Hyper Room. That's one word with 2 R's. Till next time, second star on the right and straight on till morning.